been an absolute blast seeing this house come to life. Let's build a house. We've made a ton of progress on the house this far, but now it's time to take care of the tasks we need to complete before we can drywall our house. In previous episodes, we talked about the race to the roof. Well, now it's the sprint to drywall. One of the many requirements before we can call our drywallers is enclosing the envelope of the house. In general, it's best to maintain a temperature of 55 degrees while installing the drywall. We will not be able to maintain that temp without installing our front door. Picking out the right front door was actually pretty challenging. We went through a couple local suppliers, and we were caught off guard with how expensive they were and how limited some of their styles were. Amy ended up finding a company called Grand Entry Doors out of North Carolina that shipped us exactly what we were looking for at a reasonable price. To install this sucker, our plan was to get on either side of the door and slowly position the door into the opening. Then, Smitty would fasten it to the framing. But we had a serious miscue.
Pop man. Come here. Hold steady there. Okay. You got the whole thing.
I got it.
Whoa, Matt!
I was just kidding, but I took my eye off the ball there for a second and almost ruined the day. Look at me lose focus here.
Whoa, Matt!
After a stiff lecture from Smitty, we regrouped and fastened the door with long trim screws. Once the door frame was fastened, Smitty went ahead and hung the door on its hinges. Not only was a disaster avoided, but this door is exactly what we were looking for. Our next step will be to stain this door once this cold snap ends. Our final mechanical requirement before drywall is finishing our electrical installation. We started with the outlet boxes. It was fun, but also kind of daunting. To pick all the locations for our outlets, it doesn't sound that important, but everyone's been in a house, hotel room, or apartment where the outlet locations drive you crazy. We did not want that. After finishing the outlet boxes, Rich and Jordan, two awesome electricians, started with installing the lights throughout the house. Rich is a fantastic worker and electrician, but he's an even better consultant. His recommendations for location, types of bulbs, where to add dimmers, etc. is what makes him great. Amy and I left our meetings with Rich more informed and even more excited. We're lucky to work with him. A light that Smitty and I helped Richard with was the big chandelier that will hang in the open staircase. This light will be pretty heavy, so we had to add some mounting blocks in the joist bay on the third floor to support it. Next, we installed a ceiling fan support bracket. Obviously this won't be a ceiling fan, but this will support the weight of our chandelier. Once the ceiling fan support bracket was installed, Smitty ran power to the bracket for the light, and the last step is for Amy to pick out the style chandelier that she likes. Alright, so here's the location for the chandelier inside our staircase, and we're going to center it up with this window right here. So picture a chandelier hanging down another 2 feet. Pretty cool, it lights up the whole stairwell. With the boxes, lights, and smoke detectors mounted, Rich and Jordan ran all the wires through the house to the 2 electrical panels. One is in the basement and one will be in the laundry room. Rich and Jordan made quick work out of wiring this house. Our next step was to build out the electrical meter. An electrical meter is a clock-like device that records the amount of electricity you use. As your home draws electricity from the power lines, a set of small gears inside the meter move. The number of revolutions are recorded by the dials that you see when you look at your meter. The speed of the revolutions is determined by the amount of power that is consumed.
Yep. Good. Yes.
Hello?
Once we're finished setting up the meter, we will have our friend Sam and his team come by to officially set up power throughout our house.
This is where your meter will go. So Pico's going to come up under here.
Yeah.
The wires will go here, here, and here. So 2 hots and a ground.
And this,
And then this goes into your disconnect.
and this is the way that they determine how much power I'm using, and like,
Pretty much.
All right, so we got an interesting day planned here. We're going to hook our meter up to the Pico utility pole for power, and the straight line to that pole is 150 feet, and you have to go under 2 pipelines. So instead of doing that, we're going to put a 35-foot utility pole closer to the house, trench from the meter, and attach airily from the new pole to the existing utility pole. So should be fun to watch how this goes.
To hook up power to our house, Sam and his team started by laying out exactly where they wanted to trench, as well as where they wanted the utility pole to go. We'll hook up from this pole location to the existing transformer airily through the trees. Sam's first step was to dig the trench 3 feet deep from the meter to the utility pole. Sometimes it's fun to work on these big machines, and sometimes it's just as much fun to watch someone that's good on them. While Sam dug the trench, his guys set the conduit from the meter all the way to the utility pole. Next, I got the chance to sit back and watch how they set the utility pole. These are the type of tasks where you can tell how good a team is. They barely communicated, and it felt like they all just kind of knew the next step. With the trench complete and the utility pole set, the next move was to connect the triplex from the transformer through the woods to the utility pole that is now closer to the house. Now that the triplex is hooked up to the new utility pole, Sam's guys ran the triplex down the pole and through the conduit that's now buried. To do this, Sam's guys sent a string through the conduit with a conduit string blower. They do this to make sure the conduit is clear, as well as using this to help pull the triplex through the conduit underground. With the conduit clear and the pulling rope tied, the last step is to pull the triplex through the conduit. After the triplex was hooked to the meter, it was time to test our house for power.
Which does, those aren't labeled yet, but that's for the second floor panel. So you said turn on this. Turn all these on.
Next time on Let's Build a House.
Tapping with my